You teach what,
Sir, I
Professor?
teach constitutional law.
Sorry?
Constitutional law, sir.
Okay, fine. So, yeah, so there is a lot of application of that today.
Yeah.
Whether vaccine is a fundamental right or not. And yeah, we have to refer to the constitutional provisions to talk about that.
Right. I was highly interested as soon as I received the notification from Dr. Saurabh. I said this is what I really wanted to attend and learn how the things go about it.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, it will be a mutual learning process. We will learn from each other, and yeah, that is the way to go.
Right, sir.
Yes, sir. You can also put forth your opinions. Like it's a discussion forum basically where everybody comes to discuss.
No, we'll be very happy to hear you.
Yes, very pleased.
So I believe this is a students' forum wherein they come up with their line of arguments and their viewpoints about contemporary issues, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And I was just telling this to Ratnesh just now that being a lawyer, you should always develop a perspective analysis, because I have practiced in the bar and I was in the corporate for 39 years as CEO and director, and I moved from legal background, though I I specialized in management, in law both. Okay. So I was just telling him that you should develop perspective analysis. Each and every issue has got 2-3 dimensions. So don't go by the crowd. If the crowd believes this, you may believe something else. And there is a place for you under the sun only when you believe something different. If you are believing what the whole world is believing, then that is already a crowded place. And you have very little chance of survival there.
सर हमारे गुरुदेव थे, वो कहा करते थे कम से कम पढ़ो और ज्यादा से ज्यादा सोचो. So this is very apt. This is very apt because the critical thinking for the lawyers is very essential.
Yes.
So it is so good that Ratnesh and his team has started this forum, and it is a welcome and a step to be imitated by our campus also.
Yeah. You are from which campus, sir?
I'm in Indore, sir.
Acha, you are in Indore.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how possibly we have not met. Yeah, you are in Indore, right? I am in Navi Mumbai campus.
Okay. I have seen you that you attend all the seminars without fail.
I am a good student.
Yeah.
Though I was in the corporate and very busy, but still I used to find time to deliver lectures in India and abroad. I was visiting faculty to 3 foreign universities, and some 7 students have done their PhD under me. And I used to get time for this, and teaching is my first love. Teaching means, I will not say teaching, learning. Learning, and one of the primary reasons why I left corporate and came to teach, was that at the end of the day, I wanted to be a teacher, which I could not. All the time earning money, and being in the corporate job, doing, there also I did a lot of good things, but important thing is I found that the time is running out, getting old. So maybe a stage has come that when I have proved myself in the corporate, I should share these knowledge and skills to the students, to the next generation.
Definitely.
Otherwise I want to die empty stomach. My father used to tell that die empty stomach, because whatever is in your stomach, you have no right on that. You have no right on that, because that you have accumulated in this earth, and there are so many factors they have contributed for that. So give it back to the earth before you die. Don't take it to the grave. That would be very selfish on your part. So I still remember him saying all the time this thing. Then I found the best way of doing that is ending up being a teacher. Yeah.
And the corporate sector is very demanding. It doesn't give you personal space as well as space to learn something different.
No, see, it is demanding, but it's a very well-paid job. Then you can create a lot of things there. A lot of satisfaction is there, but the best experiment is how to, implement management principles in corporate.
Right.
See, whatever we are teaching in management now, these are in the books which are written some 10 years back, 5 years back, to solve the contemporary solution 10 years back. Now these challenges in the industry has become so fast-paced that the challenges are different. So they need a different solution. So management is a subject, whatever you have learned 10 years back, you cannot really solve today's problems with yesterday's solutions.
Right,
The moment
right.
you try to solve today's problems with yesterday's solutions, you will obviously fail because that solution was packaged for that period of time. The other day I was talking to Bombay Chambers, their guys, and then I was telling them this thing also.
Ratnesh, I think you can, Nandi sir can start with the whole thing and you can start with the introduction, then people can join and participate in the discussion. Okay?
Yes, I'll start.
Yes, sure.
Okay. I welcome you all on the behalf of Research and FDP Committee, School of Law, to our intellectual forum of the semester on Indian vaccination policy vis-a-vis the right to be vaccinated. I would like to extend my warm regards to Preeti ma'am, who is the faculty in charge of the committee, to all the teachers who are present here, and Prapti for being the administrative and research help. I would also like to welcome the Associate Dean of NMIMS Indore, Professor Ashutosh Hajela. Our chief guest for today's evening is Professor Keshav Nandi sir, and the timekeeper is Anushka Singh, a first year BBA LLB student. Also, I will be moderating along with sir. Before moving ahead, I would like to read the rules for once for the benefit of all the participants. Participants shall raise their hands and then speak, addressing the moderator. They shall be given maximum of 3 minutes on the first instance and 1.5 maximum subsequently. Participants are allowed to carry a notepad and a pen to make notes. However, they are strictly discouraged to look up statistics or information during the discussion. They can keep email texts and rules on hand. Interrupting the speaker will not be appreciated. Now, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Nandi sir for enlightening us in the topic, and we'll move on with the forum.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ratnesh. And thanks to Pausali, thanks to Preeti ma'am, thanks to everyone who has very successfully organized it. And I found it very interesting attending the last session also. I was attended. And you are doing a very good job. So there is no doubt about that. Please keep doing it. Pick up any contemporary topic that is of great interest to you. And let us try to, brainstorm to find out a lot of perspectives into the topic. Because whatever the whole world just now is telling you, is saying, then if you say the same thing, then that is already a crowded place and you cannot get a place to even stand also there. So that's why I develop new perspectives that will make, you will make a very good advocate if you do that. And also you will be a very sensitive person contributing a lot. Now coming to the topic of today, all of you are very familiar. So I'll be saying something which may be slightly different, but more or less it will be same thing that you have learned. See, all of us, that the controversy around vaccine. Okay, the controversy around vaccine is as old as the vaccine itself. And the best country in not in generating controversy, then propagating it and exporting it abroad is UK. You may be remembering in 70s and 80s, the pertussis controversy, vaccine controversy. It was such a raging controversy. And then came the controversy circling around, a lot of other things, polio, measles, and all that. All the controversies they came, and all the time it will become a legal issue. At the end of the day, you have to come to the legal table as to which is right, which is wrong, because most of the controversies they were arising earlier also, even today also, out of some sort of beliefs. Many times the beliefs are evangelical, many times the beliefs are based on superstition, and many times apprehension. Yes, apprehension will be there because you are using the vaccine for emergency use. So there is a sort of sense of doubt whether enough precaution has been taken. Okay, enough precaution has been taken. And that is the reason why for developing a vaccine, earlier it was being taken minimum 10 to 15 years. But COVID actually, sounded the alarm bell so fast that everybody wanted that it should come out very fast. And so there was a lot of humanitarian efforts as to how it will come. There was business effort also because everybody knew that there is a best chance, this is the best chance to make money if you come out with the vaccine as fast as possible. And vaccines came in quite good number of countries, and India being the superpower of vaccine. Please remember that in smallpox and all that, measles and all that, we have supplied vaccine to the whole world, and India remains the superpower as far as vaccine development is concerned. And this time also, we came out very powerfully, very strongly. But then there, because the disease is something very new, nobody knew about it. What is first wave, what is second wave, third wave, and all that. So everybody thought that, okay, in one wave it is over. So we started celebrating. Okay, we started celebrating, and that is how we paid a heavy price for that. And being humanitarian by nature, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam theory, we distributed vaccines to many of the African countries and Latin American countries, sometimes free of cost and sometimes with very small amount that they paid. And we thought that we are doing a very good job. But in the process, we exhausted our vaccine stock also, which the intelligent countries, I should say, no, not intelligent, selfish countries, European and American countries, they did not do, they did not distribute, they hoarded. That is how the vaccine apartheid it started. And they hoarded the vaccine to such an, this same AstraZeneca vaccine, America hoarded in huge quantity, which now, of course, they are sharing something with India also, that they are doing now. That's so one of the reasons was that India, by its very nature and culture, we wanted to save the mankind, develop the vaccine, then distribute free of cost, try to save the mankind as much as possible. The other one was very utilitarian, that we spend hardly 1.5% of the GDP on healthcare. So obviously for us, the easier recourse was that you develop vaccine and then vaccinate people and save them, instead of spending a lot of money on the healthcare. Whereas a country like US, they are very proud of the technological development they did. So they say we don't bother. That is what was the lingo when Trump was there, that our medical infrastructure is so strong that we will be in a position to save our people. That was the misplaced confidence he had got. But ultimately it did not happen. Then they also came back to the same logic of saving mankind through vaccination. So as it happened across the globe, that's how to save mankind through vaccination. Then of course there will be a lot of politics, there will be a lot of so let us not get into that. But most important thing is that as to how to vaccinate now, almost to the extent of 70 to 80% of Indians, because age on date today's figure when I saw, then I found that age on date we have hardly vaccinated about 17 to 18 or 20% possibly. unless we reach a stage of 45 to 50%, then the issue of herd immunity will not be fulfilled, because herd immunity is the only way that possibly we can save ourselves, because you will not be in a position to develop vaccine for each and every strand, because now today again all of you must be knowing that after this Delta strand, the new strand is Lambda. One new Lambda strand has come out. So every 2-3 months there will be a new strand, and obviously you cannot come out with a separate vaccine for all the new strands. So the easier way is to develop a sort of herd immunity, and that is possible only when the antibody formation happens in almost 60 to 70% of the population, and that is still miles to go, but I hope we will be achieving it very soon. Now, being legal students, if I don't talk about the legal aspect of it, then you will curse me. Now, all of you must be knowing the recent thing, what the Meghalaya High Court has given the order. Okay, I would like to hear more of it from all of you, but it is very interesting, very interesting. In the sense, in a public interest litigation, the court has observed that if forcible vaccination is done, then it is a violation of the fundamental right. Okay. But important point is the fundamental right to life that you are talking about. There itself lies the another fundamental right, that only when you live, then only you will have the next fundamental right of pursuing a vocation of your choice. Possibly you know the background under which this order came was that Meghalaya government issued a circular that all the malls, shops in the malls, they will have to get their employees vaccinated and put a board in front of the shop that all are vaccinated here and everybody can come. If you are not vaccinating and if you are not giving the certificate that all are vaccinated, then people will not visit you. So you cannot open your mall. They said you cannot open your mall, right? So there itself, the judges, honorable judges, they said that you cannot force somebody like that, because pursuing his own vocation, that is his fundamental right. You cannot really come in the way. And yes, you can persuade them, but you cannot make it mandatory. But again, this will be challenged, I am telling you, in Supreme Court. Some people should challenge it, and it should be challenged, because it is not like a straight way game that I say that no, this is my right, so I'll live the way I like. Because you are endangering my life by your not getting vaccinated. You can be a silent carrier. You can be an asymptomatic carrier of the disease. And when I come in contact with you, I may suffer. Why should I suffer for a stupid decision that you are taking? You have no right to take my life. Take your life. You commit suicide, do whatever you do. I don't care. But by your irresponsible behavior, if you are endangering my life, then obviously my fundamental right to life is getting affected. And I should challenge this. I should challenge this. So there will be people who will challenge it. I am very sure about it. So though the High Court had said that no, we will be writing whether you are going by Ola, Uber and all that, then they will be bound, or in a shop you are going to buy something, they will be bound that, these are my employees who are vaccinated. If you want to come, you come, or you don't. So you are taking an informed decision. They moderated it, but I am not personally satisfied about it, because I still feel that you can be an asymptomatic carrier and you can infect me and you can kill me, which you have no right to do. You can kill yourself. I have no problem. But you have no right to kill me. That is how the orders will be challenged, I am sure. And more we will know about all these when we start discussing. I'll request my friend Ratnesh to please take it forward, and Pausali to take it forward, and let us hear a lot of intelligent and enlightened views from all the learner gathering here. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir, for such enlightening thoughts about the Meghalaya judgment and various other things that you have put forth. Now I would like to ask whether Professor Ashutosh Hajela ji would like to add something to the intellectual salon if he would like to.
Yeah, Ratnesh. So I was listening to the views of Dr. Keshav Nandi, and at this point, I would like to only say that the Constitution of India doesn't grant any absolute right to anybody. So if the people, they claim that they have a right to livelihood or they have a right to enter into any profession, trade, occupation, business of their choice, the state is also empowered to come up with a law and try to regulate them in the larger interest of the public. So, of
True.
course, yes, sir, please.
No, you are talking about the reasonable restriction the state can put.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. You are right, sir. Go ahead, please.
So, because this is a situation full of crisis, and the state needs to act, and the state being a maternal state, it being a welfare state, it needs to give solace to the various people residing in here. So that is how a fine tuning has to be maintained, a balance has to be maintained between the two parties, and that is the worth, that is the efficacy of a good administrator, a good government. So that is all what needs to be there in the focal point when the students start discussing on it. So we can't be myopic in our view. We can't analyze the things only on the touchstone of the constitution. There are so many things to be considered in order to have a very far visioned thought process.
Yeah.
So Ratnesh, I would like to be interested more in listening to your views, and I'll keep commenting if I am allowed in between.
Of course, sir. Of course, you're allowed, sir. That was very enlightening. Thank you, Nandi, sir. Thank you, Ashutosh, sir. Now we would like to listen to the participants' view on the topic. So now I would like to put forth the first hepatic area of discussion, and participants can start raising their hands to give their opinion. So the first one being, does India's vaccination distribution policy go against the fundamental rights of its citizens? If anyone would like to please raise their hands, I will acknowledge them and let them allow to speak.
Ratnesh, we have a hand raise.
Yes, Niharika, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so I think as Nandi sir put so well that, and also Ashutosh sir added, there are a lot of, questions of how India's vaccination policy may or may not be infringing certain fundamental rights. So you have to look at perhaps, all angles. You have to look at equality in terms of perhaps what you've planned for the rest of the discussion, where not everybody is being given the vaccine equitably, the distribution, because most people cannot afford to pay 1250 two times over a span of 3 months and get the vaccine that is perhaps more than the monthly income of the household. So you have to look at Article 14 and further you have to look at Article 15 in terms of, we've read in the news that in certain states you have priests and certain priests being given priority for vaccine, and this is discrimination based on caste. So maybe you have to look at 15, then you have to look at 19 as Professor Nandi so eloquently put. You have to, of course, look at 21 as well. So in those terms, I think if you look at all the different kind of navigations that you have to look at when vaccine policy has to be decided, it is most pertinent that the Supreme Court should review the decision that has been put forth, I think. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dee. Thank you, Niharika Dee. So now if anyone else would like to put forth their opinion.
Also, Ratnesh, I got to hear a news somewhere in a society of Mumbai that the RWA of that particular society, it arranged a camp with a tie-up with some pharma company, And then the level of corruption has to be understood that they injected only glucose in the name of Covishield or Covaxin. So a lot of corruption is also going in the name of vaccination. So somebody has to intervene, and we can't be taken for a ride.
Truly, sir, truly. There have been many cases where it was shown that the corruption is going on in various vaccination centers. So we need to find a solution to that also. Thank you, sir. Now, Anushka, would you like to put forth your opinion?
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. Okay. So I would just like to add some of my views, wherein I read about where Supreme Court had pointed out that states have only 25% of quota in vaccine, which is same as the private hospitals. So this can actually be considered as a disappropriate position of what vaccines have. Like as large number of people, especially those who are not financially well off, may not be able to afford those 2 doses of vaccine from a private hospital when there is quota of 25% only. And then the second thing which I wanted to highlight was when like the registration system is allowing only digital registration and booking of an appointment on CoWIN app, which is like will ultimately ensure that all vaccines, whether free or paid, are first available by the economically privileged section of the society. And this actually I feel makes a huge difference and violation of rights. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Anushka. Now we'll be moving forward with the next question, which was next hepatic area of discussion, which was how does Indian vaccine distribution policy conflict with the privileges of the poor and marginalized? If anyone would like to put forth their opinion, please raise your hand. Yes, Vani, you can go ahead.
Yes, hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible.
Yes. So I believe that the vaccination policy is a violation, is not really the one that is fit for poor and marginalized people. Like Anushka raised the point that because everything is digital, so the poor and the uneducated do not know how to register themselves. So either they go around asking the people who at whose place they work or someone else, or they don't opt for it altogether because they feel it's a hassle altogether to understand the process to get the vaccination done. So I believe that, Anushka pointed out, I agree with her that on-site vaccination, it would be great if there is some provision for which poor people don't really need to go through the hassle that is caused due to online, and there's some on-site vaccination that happens, and they get the vaccination the very same day, or they get on shit or something where it's written that on this day at this time you can come and get the vaccination, then something of that sort. That is it. Thank you.
So friends, it was very, very enlightening discussion. All of you have contributed so much. So closing remarks, if you are asking me, then I will say that when we have discussed a lot about the vaccine, we have missed out one important point that all of us must do. Even I missed it. Just now I remember that nobody has talked, nobody has discussed, even I have not discussed about the efficacy level of different vaccines. Okay, so starting with the Chinese vaccine, which is at 40%, then Indian vaccines at 70%, then like that, Sputnik at 90%, then Pfizer is 92%, 93%, like that. If you scale up all these vaccines, still you will find that all of them, they have agreed that with the Delta variant, which mischievously they used to call, even in US they used to call, my son was telling that Indian variant. Okay, so they are so much worried that with this variant and the new variant, Lambda variant and other variants, those who have come, the efficacy level will come down, but definitely the vaccine will be effective. maybe our vaccine, which is supposed to be effective to 70%, it will be effective to 5%, 50%. But the point I am trying to make is still another 50% will be left open. That means you will be vulnerable by another 50%. That is not a substantial amount, substantial percentage. That you will have to cover up with your COVID appropriate behavior. So now the new lifestyle with mask on, that has to be the spirit. You have to find out new ways as to how you will look handsome and beautiful with mask. A lot of new ideas are there in the internet, you must follow. And so masking is compulsory, then social distancing will be compulsory, and all these things if you follow, and of course no crowd and all that if you follow, then another 50% which is still a vacant area, that is the gray area, which can still affect us, so that you can cover. So we have talked enough about vaccine. Vaccine will contribute to the extent of 50% to give you to safeguard you, definitely yes, and it will do that. But another 50%, please follow COVID appropriate behavior ruthlessly in your home and when you are coming out. That is the way to go. That is the new normal. You have to accept it. You have to accept it, and we have to enjoy as to how we can excel in that. Okay. That is my closing remark. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your insightful thoughts. We thank all the participants on participating on today's intellectual forum. The committee has provided a feedback form. If any of you would like to let us know that how we can improve. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you,